Hello people! Welcome to another edition of Friday Night Knives here on A Dose of Drew. I am said Drew. Alright, here goes. Today we have this. The Kizer Sheepdog Mini Button Lock. Alright, so we have here. Let's go over this. First, if you're fans of the channel, you know that we here on this channel very much like the Kizer Mini Sheepdog in the flipperless version, particularly. My current favorite being this special edition 10V. I do have the flippered version. I don't like the flippered version in the Mini quite as much. I'll get to that in a minute. The 4V version, I do have the special edition 4V version from Knife Center. Fantastic little knife. Titanium mill clip. It has all contour. It has all of the fancies. It is really awesome. It's still extraordinarily useful, and it is that 4V steel. It is great. So we're fans of this here. So hopefully we won't. I've said that now. I'm pretty sure so has happened about 20 times now. We're going to reduce that. But just to give everyone a quick update, here is a leak. Not just any leak, but a random leak. A bug out in comparison. All right, so you can see they're tiny, right? It's small. It is not a feldspar. It's a smaller knife, but I want to leave the feldspar out here along with instead of the leak, because I want to talk about hand space on these knives. If I put the bug out, you can see the overall hand space is similar to the bug out, and other than the drop off here on the feldspar, very similar in hand space to the feldspar, as well as the way you can grip the feldspar. As you see, I have about that much off, but on the Sheepdog Mini, it fits this grip quite well. So, rolling right along with that, pull these little comparisons out. And I'm going to mostly be comparing with the other sheepdogs and a couple of others maybe, simply to get through, because this is the button lock version. So let's get out of here. All right, so we've got it on 0. Here is the button lock version. Just under 3¼ ounces. Here is the other 154 cm contoured version. 2½ ounces, right? So you're seeing a little bit here. 4V version with the flipper, 2.7. We're getting closer, and the 10V in there, 2½ So you got 2½, so approximately 5 ounces, right? 5.02. That doesn't add up no matter how you do it. Versus one that's over 3. It's it's approximately ½ an ounce more than the flipper versions, which have a little bit more mass. So let's get into this, because now we've got the design, aesthetics, mechanics. And since we know the Sheepdog, right? We know the Sheepdog Mini, we can talk about the specific differences. One of the first I want to compare with is the other 154 cm version, because that's what steel is in this. So aluminum handles, deep carry clip, which this one doesn't have. However, the 10V special version, which is also going to be in here, does have I would say, pretty much exactly the same clip. All right. So it's hard to say contoured. It's actually mostly flat aluminum, but extraordinarily shouldered. As you can see, there's a little bit of contouring on that side. If you look at the front, let me see if I can get it on camera. There's not a lot of contouring on the bigger parts. It's mostly just at the very end where the rounding of each side actually just kind of meets. If you look, there's like round, and there's a teeny tiny flat spot, but it's just that much rounding actually just comes together in that small of an area. It's not, I wouldn't say contoured, even though it ends up being that. What it is just, there's that much rounding on it. So it's not quite contoured, but man, it is. There's no sharp edges, or every edge is round and everything else. There's also, well, I shouldn't say it. There's sharp edges. They're crisp in this milling on the aluminum. It's not sharp. It's not going to cut, but it is crisp. And what that does is it provides traction. It provides a lot of grip. Those crisp edges, even though they're not going to cut, you know, they're going to provide some good edges and surface area, particular, some place to grab. The skin's going to go in, and those crisp edges are going to make it hard for it to just come out. As well as, you know, anything like rubber or even leather, some glove materials and stuff like that. So it does provide some really good grip right where your fingers go. That's really nice. It provides a relatively non-slip surface without having to do anything other than mill their signature lines in there, which is fantastic. Clip is good. The design is great. We love it. The aesthetics. My subjective feeling on the aesthetics of the Mini Sheepdog is that it's great. Its design is definitely made for EDC. This thing is, without a doubt, a plastic piercer. You can go ahead and that's a saran wrap slicer. It will take down packages. It is a cardboard carver and an envelope eviscerator. It has all of those EDC qualities, and at the same time, it's often made out of a relatively tough steel. I think S35VN or the 10V might be the most thing. But you got S35VN, you got 4V, you got some of these. You got 154cm, relatively tough steels for a big one. So it does lend itself. Now you're not supposed to chop with that, but it does lend itself to some very good push cuts at high velocity. Higher velocity, we'll just say. So the designs that on there said, so we'll get into the mechanics. And here's where I'm going to bring another Kizer out, because man, do the mechanics remind me in the best way possible of the original. The Kizer original here is just, man, one of my favorite button locks, regardless of price. Its EDC worthiness is just ridiculously good. And I normally would be, I can tell you, I am immediately skeptical of a button lock that has a button that pushes that far up. It is crowned and there is a recess. I was hoping, and I was not disappointed. First of all, the action is great. There is nothing that stops that from working. You can do it in the manipulation is great, right? You can, it has no trouble. The plunge lock mechanism works great. But most importantly, with something that tall, I often worry about being, especially on something that has such small space for your fingers and has a space for your finger, it's like a finger choil, so you can use it in an overhand grip. For a small thing like this where you can use it, you can flip it over, you want the lock to be good. You know, you can do all sorts of things from different grips. This one is especially useful to me. Many plunge locks that don't take into account the fact that someone's thumb might go on there as part of a control surface fail for me. A lot of people don't like it. Civivi, for me, is one of the best right now. That, especially with even one that's reduced or anything like that, where I have something like the Conspirator, where I can get on here, you know. And here's the thing: in the right grip, it can still be above, and my thumb is down, right? The Sheepdog does the same thing. It has more than enough space right here, and in order for me to get control with this upper, my thumb goes towards the point. And this is actually amazing. I can have even if I did, it's locked. But my finger's there, much like how slip joints often do. They'll put a finger choil there so that you can't. But if I just squeeze, if my hand is right here and I just squeeze. I rolled it, sorry, here. I'll get to that point in a minute. If I just squeeze. Now, if I just squeeze and then roll, and it is the finest of lines. It's hard to even show. So if I go squeeze, so if I'm here, I just go squeeze, right? I'll just pick my finger out so you can do it. Now, I'm going to roll just a little bit. That's the difference. That roll, but it's a deliberate one that goes up there to break it loose. Now, here's the other thing. if I'm doing something and I happen to roll, right, my finger's still there. Like, it's really hard to squish my finger down. So there's the built-in safety of my finger being on the blade to control it, and that I deliberately have to roll my finger, even though it's just slight, it is just enough, especially with the crowned button and it being so far up above where you, and a fatter-fingered person, I should say, because my thumbs aren't exactly the narrowest in the world, may have a little bit more trouble, and this is a small knife for someone who's looking to do so. If you like the thumb over, then you'll never have to worry about it, but it is a 3-fingered grip for most people, with a pinky just giving a little support on the back end there. But it is extraordinarily well positioned in there. You know, I love things. I have the same thing where I do the conspirator, where you can do whatever and then just pull your finger out and pinch, and it goes. Kizer has this similar thing. Same. It is what I love about the original. I can go like this. I can do it, and then a slight roll, and done. Slightest roll makes it happen. That particular bit to it makes this a great button lock, and it still maintains what is so great about the EDC friendliness, particularly about this knife. You know, you do get some control with the flipper tab. It gives you a control surface that you can use, and while your thumb's doing the other. But to me, it's not the same as being able to, because you don't have a way to actually then go into this without hitting the flipper tab. So to me, the flipper tab version is actually, in the smaller size, actually have less utility. But man, does it change the game when you remove that flipper and put in the opening hole. You can also get thumb stud versions where the thumb studs are out there. I like the flipper hole better because you never lose any usable edge space. It's the ovals are fantastic. For me, the 10V is still one of my favorites. Or A11 10V. I mean, the edge retention for this is going to be in like the S90V range, with a toughness that's going to be more like the S35VN or S30V range. Absolutely fantastic little knife. And this thing, I've never had to, I stropped this just to make sure I got a clean, even edge. After I got it on the 10V, it was ridiculously sharp. I did a quick strop on some 4 micron, 5 micron diamond strop, just to give a nice even. It has never had to touch anything since. It still shaves, it still cuts. I use it. This one often goes in there if I have nothing else, just because I always like to try to have an excuse to try and see how long the 10V will last. The 154cm with the contoured here, this version has the lines much similar to that. As you noticed, the 10V version just has it on one side, as does this one. We'll get into that in a minute. Right, so they all have those 3 lines. It is fantastic. The 154cm steel is great. This is just the black wash. I believe this one is the PVD. You have it on both sides here, which gives you a little bit of grip also on this. It's matte aluminum, but if you got wet, it does get a little slick. So there's also the milling on this side to give your pocket a little bit of grip, as well as your hands. And that's going to get me right into the noteworthy points. It's the most noteworthy thing about this is that it's a button lock. It does give you aluminum handles. Very, very durable stuff. Yes, they can get scratched up, but it's still aluminum. It's going to last a while. You take care of it, it's going to last a while. The intended purpose of this is it's to be another version. It doesn't, what's the biggest advantage it offers from its other siblings in the family here? Well, it's a button lock. It's the fidgety factor. I can pull this out of my pocket and use it with one hand, or I can sit here and play with it. It's bouncy, right? You can time it, you can do whatever, you can pull it out. It's usable. It has all of the usability and 10 times the fidget friendliness. That's really what you're talking about here. And that's what brings us to the next point, which is the cost to value ratio. You pay a premium for it. Now, you also get milled aluminum handles. You also get a button lock. You get PVD. You get 154 cm steel that's well done. You get a deep carry clip. There's a lot of value for the premium you pay. I believe these are around the $60 mark, and I think these, I believe, are retailing right around the $90 to $100 mark. Approximately similar to around the 80 to 90 or so, I believe the 10V was retailing when they had these in. I don't know if they still do. They may be looking to make them. I don't know. The special editions usually run closer to 100. Is it a significantly better EDC value than the normal 154 cm Kizer one? No, not not on a cost to value basis. Do I gain anything significant? No. But that depends on how you value what you do gain, because you do gain things with it. One, you gain, just like on the others, you gain a deep carry pocket clip. You don't get the contouring of this version. You still get the same 154 cm. This has a black stonewash, which isn't quite as durable in helping, but 154 cm isn't a very corrosion-prone steel as it is. The 10V has a much more similar. You also get aluminum handles, which arguably I love. Don't get me wrong, I love micarta. The linen micarta is fantastic. It gets you a little tacky when it's wet, which the aluminum doesn't. But the aluminum is a little bit more substantial, and the matte finish makes it feel more substantial. And quite honestly, I don't use my knives in the rain a lot. I try not to. There's a lot of good reasons not to pull your knife out in the middle of a rainstorm. And the deep carry pocket clip in many ways is perfectly fine. It is really, really good. You can grab it. You have places to grab. You can pull it out with one finger and just having one thumb and go like that, and it'll pull. It lifts it off there. There's plenty of thing. It's smooth enough that it slides out of the pocket. It can be. I have worn this with athletic shorts. It's right on the verge of being too heavy. It starts to look like I got too much in my pocket in the wrong place, if you know what I mean. But it does do a great job of keeping it low. And when it comes to jeans, most jeans, it fits in the fifth pocket. Not all designers make a fifth pocket that is deep enough, but most do, which makes it a great bit for the cost of value. And that's where I get into the expectations. If you're someone who's going after this and you're looking, I don't know if the 10Vs are out of there or the 4Vs, so we'll go with the regular 154 cm and the plunge lock. You're going to pay about a 30% premium. You get significant value. Besides the fidgetiness of the plunge lock, which is great, it is absolutely fantastic. And the ease of the one-hand operation where you don't have to keep your fingers in the path. And you don't have to worry about your grip. There is a little bit of reduction in being able to move your finger all over, but in most cases, your thumb's not there anyway. And your finger provides, much as in many slip joints, a secondary bit of safety in that if you do disconnect, your finger's there. And then you put it back up and you're good to go and you move your thumb if it happens to slip. A lot of benefit to that. So yeah, you get a fair amount of value, and you should not expect too much. I don't have a lot of requests on this one, to be perfectly honest. There's no lanyard hole or anything. There's no lanyard post. They don't pretend to be giving someone a lanyard spot for a teeny tiny knife that's probably in the fifth pocket. You're already going in here. You're probably not going to be trying to get a little tail here for a saber grip. They do really well. I said, more than so now. Goodness gracious, I get to make fun of myself. So the expectations, I don't have a lot of requests to change. It's the thing I didn't know. I was hopeful when I got it, and I was pleasantly rewarded with a well thought out button lock that has action that is so similar to my favorite Kizer button lock, which is actually one of my favorites out there in the world, which is the original for its relative safety and similar things where if I can disengage it, my finger's kind of there it's kind of in the way. Similar to that, it does all of the stuff that's great about the original, adds to it with the design of the Sheepdog, and really just knocks it out of the park. This is such a great design. You do pay about a 30% premium, but it is not in vain. It's not so much on the steel as it is the other parts of it. You get the button lock, you get the deep carry, you get machined aluminum that is solid. It has inset steel liners all the way through. It is solid. It's not even milled. I don't know if you can see, like, these are milled to help get that lightweight. The extra 3/4 of an ounce, there's no milled liners. I don't know if you can even see that with there, but hopefully that shows up better in video than it does right now when I'm trying to look at it. So it's robust, it's fidgety, it's everything the other version is and more, and you pay the premium for it. So it's, in my opinion, it's worth it, but I am a fan of the knife, especially the smaller version. It's not the only one I have. There are other versions of it. Ooh, did I just smash something up against there? Just as a quick comparison, let's see if I have it around here do I have it where it's convenient? Probably not. Oh, wait. Forget where I start putting things. You know, there are the larger siblings here. The regular Sheepdog does a fantastic bit with a flipper tab. It does good if you want to get up and be able to do certain things. It's the flipperless version is great, 154 cm. I have nothing against the flipper versions on here for the reason that they're simply large enough for me to do all of the different grips and things I need to do without ever doing it. And I don't do enough hard use tests to need to be able to get that. And if there's a flipper up here and I need to get up and do like fruit pep, I'm okay with that. But I bought the one without the flipper because of the utility of the smaller one. And it still is a great knife. This one is ridiculously useful. It's also just huge. And it has the deep carry clip that the small one I really wish had. One of the worst parts about the smaller regular one is that it doesn't have a deep carry clip. I think the newer versions may even have that. I have one of the first versions here. So I am a fan of the Sheepdog series, the Sheepdog designs. They are fantastic. The mini one is just particularly my favorite for my EDC. And with that saying, I mean, the design is great. The aesthetics, I do like it. It has a very, very utilitarian aesthetic as well as design. The mechanics on this are as good as anything, if not better. It is definitely noteworthy in that it gives you that fidget. It turns a great knife into a fidgety wonder, right? So it is noteworthy in that its intended purpose is the same EDC excellence that the original Sheepdog design has. Its cost to value ratio isn't that great, but you do get something for your money. It's just up to you whether it's worth it. If you cannot wait to get yourself on a button lock, there are some Civivis that are cheaper. But you get a lot of value. You get some heft. You get some utility. You get the aluminum handles with full liners, non-skeletonized. Some people don't like the skeletonized liners. They feel like it's... Personally, if you ask me, a skeletonized liner and an aluminum handle is a pretty robust handle construction. But even a solid one, it's just that much more robust. So it's a nested liner. Man, you get a lot for the money. And if you're expecting value... or if you're not expecting value for that money, let me change your mind. You do get value. Is it something that's worth it over this? That's going to be depending upon your budget. Like, this is a really light, good EDC. I am not going to lie. This is one of my favorite little ones. And it does, because it does EDC work so great. Right? It is that plastic piercer, the saran wrap slicer, the cardboard cover, and the envelope eviscerator. That is EDC greatness right there. And now you can play with it even more. Now it is just like it is. You know what I mean? Like, oh, yeah, it is fun. So it adds to it. If that has significant value to it, it's worth the extra money. It's worth the money you spend on each one. So it has a definite value to it. And with that, I'm going to give this a recommendable. I recommend it. To me, the fidgetiness has a significant amount of value, you guys. We all do it. Like most people that love knives do this. We play with them. If you haven't, like, even if it's not all the time, even if it's something like this. You're playing with it more than twice and you're playing with it. Come on. It's a fun thing to do. It is an easy, idle hands do the devil's work, if you will, to quote an old ridiculous saying, but it does have some value in the fact that usually we like to keep our hands busy. Otherwise we start to feel a little useless. And especially if you're used to working with your hands, all of a sudden lack of neural stimulation can be unsettling. So yeah, it has it, and it's worth it. To me, it adds value to an already great knife. It adds at least as much value as having something like a 10V steel. Having just a fantastic steel, a nice micarta construct. Like this one has all the nice constructions and stuff like that. It still has the skeletonized, but that 10V, wow. Similar price, you get still the same steel, but everything else, all the extra machining, the plunge lock, the deep carry clip, the extra mat, the just attention to detail that went into it, and it's worth it. So I highly recommend it, you guys, and that's where I'm going to go ahead and leave this off. Definitely worth looking into. I can't say enough about how much I like it. So there you go. The Kizer Sheepdog Mini Button Lock 154 cm. It is ridiculously sharp, as it usually is. It is shaving sharp. I don't know if I have any hair left on my arms to be able to show you. That's what happens when you have too many knives that you sharpened recently. But it peels knife hair off. And you can, this is the factory edge still. I can feel a slight pull. That's how sharp it is. It's sharp enough to peel hair off with a slight pull. So there you go. I don't know if I have anything else like that. Oh, there might be something here. We'll give you a smooth cut. Right, very smooth. I drink coffee. Pretty much all of that lack of smoothness is my jittery from my lifelong caffeine addiction. My lifelong caffeine addiction. Denial's not just a river in Egypt. All right, it's hard to admit that. We'll just say. Anyway, so yes, very, very highly recommendable. It is a great knife, you guys. So this has been your edition of Friday Knives, your dose of Drew. I am Said Drew, so go ahead. Everyone, take this video, watch it twice, comment as much as you like, be mindful of side effects, and remember to like and subscribe. This has been your Dose of Drew. I am Said Drew, and you guys have a great rest of your night.